Sean's gotta get his giggles out of the way.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Dude's
Free
Brunch.
square.
Welcome to Dude's Brunch, a podcast about breakfast food and pop culture, but not necessarily in that order. We got a great show for you tonight, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce the panel. Over in Cincinnati, Ohio, we got frickin' Tyler Reed. Tyler Reed, what do you want to say to all these haters that are denying your age? What do you have for brunch today?
I just don't know why they don't believe me when I say I have literally the same thing every day for brunch. But no, actually, that's not true. I've been having salads. Been eating salads at Chipotle. Just a little bit of rice and salad. Salad, lettuce, chicken, a little bit of honey vinaigrette they serve. That's it.
Is it a good salad? I've never had it.
Well, considering it's just the lettuce we use for our tacos, instead of like a bunch of rice, it's pretty good. The dressing is, or the vinaigrette, sorry, they're different. It's pretty good, but it's like 200, 300 calories, so I don't use like all of it.
And so, chasing down the leprechauns stuck up in the trees in Akron, Ohio, Sean Giggle Party Evans, what'd you have for brunch today?
I had a single Buckeye chocolate and black coffee.
You know, if you're gonna have a single candy, Buckeye's a pretty good choice to have with that coffee.
That's it. Yeah. It was a little bit of peanut butter protein in there. You know, a chocolate glaze kind of add something to it. So yeah, I mean, all in all, good choice with the Buckeyes. So.
If you're gonna have a sad breakfast of one piece of candy, make it one good piece of candy.
That's right. Ohio candy.
I live in the childhood dream. Candy every meal. Just candy for breakfast, candy for lunch.
Candy for every meal.
Why not?
And here in Athens, Ohio, I'm your host, Taylor, and for brunch this morning, I had a bowl of oatmeal and black coffee. Yeah, pretty unremarkable. I don't know.
What kind of oatmeal?
Just like
plain.
No, it was oatmeal with brown sugar and raisins. My go-to oatmeal of choice.
Raisins? Brown cinnamon sugar? Alright, well, whatever.
No, brown sugar and raisins.
Well, still, it's brown sugar and raisins?
Yeah.
What's wrong with
raisins?
I don't know.
Freaking, you just need to freaking, stop denying raisins. Freaking hater.
Stop hating Tyler.
No comment.
I'm going to keep referencing obscure YouTube videos throughout this entire episode, just so everybody knows.
Just like that Delta video.
Stop here listening to this. They don't understand any of the jokes that you're just doing. So
they know about the Delta Airlines safety commercial that featured like 50 old retired memes.
Right, but they don't know that you just leaned into the camera and winked at
What is the retirement age of a meme? Like 30 days?
Now that's a topic for another time, Sean.
Okay.
Let's save it for next week. Well, you're right. I feel like there is definitely an expiration date. Precisely 2 weeks after, when everyone's running into the ground.
I don't know. I think...
No, save it. Next week.
Shut up, Taylor.
Next week on Dude's Brunch, we're talking about the life expectancy of a meme.
All right, but this week we're talking about a couple of music-related topics and then a movie-related topic. So we're going to talk music first, and that brings us to my topic. So my topic this week was a website called Every Noise at Once. I posted about it on Facebook, and people seemed to really enjoy it. Shouts out to Jack Van Kuren for tipping me off to this. It's at Every Noise. Yeah, it's at everynoise.com, and basically it's a giant map of musical genres, and they're mapped out based on the types of sounds they use, how busy or how ambient they are, and then you can click through them down to the individual band, and it's just kind of a unique way to find new bands that you might like. I don't know, I think I summed it up pretty well. Are there any other features that you guys wanted to mention?
Does Jack have Twitter, by the way? Does he have Twitter?
He has one, but he hasn't used it in like years.
Non-functional. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just
Cool.
wanted to make
So
sure.
then, my first, I guess, topic question for this, and people feel free to tweet in on this one as well. Does breaking music down into little tiny subgenres like this make sense? I mean, there's like 17 different kinds of every genre in this thing. There's, for example, there's abstract hip hop, chill hip hop, indie hip hop, psychedelic hip, like that sort of thing for every genre. So, is that too small? Can we break genre down that much? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's like a huge question. I don't know if breaking it down is necessarily like a bad thing. Like if because I feel like you could even break it down further. Like I feel like I've seen like metal charts and of genres of metal, and there wasn't metal genres on this list. Like there was still missing pieces there. So I don't know. I don't think that it doesn't make sense, but I don't think that it makes like total sense. Man, I totally just bunted on that one. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. I'll pick it up. All right. I'm gonna waddle along and I'm gonna pick up that ball and I'm gonna
Do the sport
overhand it
thing with it.
poorly. Anyway, so
We're diverse on Dude's Brunch. We can talk about sport ball.
okay. So before I forget what I was gonna say, I think that the overvaluation of genre, I think, is important to note that I think that being able to specify your genre down, as far as you can distill it down, is necessary. But I think that saying like, oh, I only listen to alternative, chill wave, like folk punk, whatever, like a very like obscure, like that's the only thing I listen to, in like a sort of like hipster way, I feel like is not helpful. But I think if you're looking for a specific like type of sound, or you're like specifically reaching out for a specific type of music to listen to, I think that's extremely important. Like I had to eventually distill down like my taste in jazz, which is like a three-piece like set with bass, piano, and drums, and it's like really like up tempo, and so it's like I kind of found like bebop to be like the correct genre, but I feel like even then I'm not quite at the jazz I exactly want to listen to. But I think jazz also is not necessarily a dead genre, but it's like sort of like we kind of pull from it as part of like a derivative kind of genre now, other than just people making just playing jazz music. Like it's not like in the forefront of pop music right now, is what I'm trying to say about jazz. But
Right.
I like how I had to like backtrack like and clarify that for like 5 minutes. But anyway, so I think that yes, distilling it down to that specific genre is important and useful.
So, Moby has said before that, particularly in the 90s, this sort of stuff really frustrated him because he was always inspired by a diverse like array of music, and he didn't want to be pigeonholed as a house artist or as, just a guy that makes dance music. And I think that's really important, but at the same time, there are also, artists who only do one thing, but they do that one thing really, really well. Like the Misfits are really, really good at horror punk, but you couldn't take the people in the Misfits and have any other kind of band or like make a record that was any other genre.
There's
These are just
also only one band in horror punk.
It's the Misfits.
I don't know. Actually, I mean, to what you just said, when I was like going through it, and particularly like on the left-hand side, for those of you who actually go on this and use it, which you should because it's really awesome. It was interesting to see how many bands I liked were really eclectic in their styles, Like I didn't really see so much as like I wouldn't try and peg them to this as much as I see like, oh well, their music kind of sounds like this, and their music kind of sounds like this genre, and so I don't know. It was kind of like expanding to the music that I usually listen to, you know, as opposed to like looking at and trying to like figure out where it is. It's like trying to look at all the influences that make their music what it is. So
Yeah, I would like to see maybe a little bit more visual connection so that you could see those influences more clearly. Like some sort of, I don't know, whether it would be lines or just like a level of flow. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
I don't
if
know.
there, maybe
I'm
if there
okay
was a
with it not
separate
being
view
connected.
where you could like put it into a timeline.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Context
think
is
that.
also extremely important.
Mhm.
Um, a great example of that I would say is anti-folk, which was like a like re, re, rebellion, I guess is the right word for that. I was trying to think of the right R word, revolt, whatever. It was sort of like a rejection of like the standards of folk at the time, sort of I guess like the Bob Dylan-esque sound of like the '60s. Um, Completely off the cuff. Sorry if I'm not accurate, but and then they started using like sort of like less serious like lyrical content and incorporate like electric instruments. Like an example of anti-folk is like Moldy Peaches, which are the people that did the Juno soundtrack, which is also Kimi Dawson, and people like Regina Spektor.
And
Um,
CDC.
right, and
Yeah.
famously Locke, which everyone should listen to because he's pretty good. And it has almost sort of like slight like punk influences as well, which is kind of interesting. But that I feel like that genre really doesn't need like hundreds of artists in it. It feels very small and very relevant to like a certain time period, and doesn't feel like it really sort of like expanded past, you know, the years that it sort of mattered. Much like hardcore is kind of hard. Like you can say that you're like a hardcore band, but I feel like the '80s hardcore is a very specific sound and style, and I don't feel like it can necessarily be replicated just by any random person out in there. So that's why like kind of like post-hardcore I feel like was developed, other than stylistic changes and whatnot.
Okay, so I didn't have this in the notes. We're gonna go off the cuff here for a second.
It's
And I
okay.
really want answers on Twitter. People tweet in on this one at Dudes Brunch. How big do you think something needs to be for it to stop being a scene and start being a genre or a subgenre? Because you talk about like anti-folk, but I think anti-folk especially like grew out of one place, and a lot of those people knew each other and played in the same bands. And hardcore, I mean, when you talk about hardcore, people say, do you mean DC hardcore or LA hardcore? Like, what do you mean? I don't know. Do you think that there's a certain point where it stops just being one scene and becomes a larger genre? I went a little too off the cuff. Everybody's like
No,
stroking their
no,
beards and thinking.
no, no. Oh, well, I don't know. I guess I didn't see it like that. Like to revert back to my first answer, like I guess what was kind of troubling to me about this was that, or maybe it was about your first question, and this I was thinking about it just while Tyler was talking too, like that I think that there are certain occasions when bands personify a particular genre, and you can come up with that and say like, oh yeah, like we said, like oh the Misfits, they are for punk, and I think to myself like I don't really want to. Sorry, I'm gonna go into like graduate studies here for a second and say that I want to like escape the positivist view of music that like everything should be categorized, and if you can't categorize it then there's something wrong with it, because I mean that's to defer to my first answer again. I enjoyed listening to this or looking at this website because it allowed me to see all the different influences that make up one particular band's sound versus being able to categorize a band into a particular genre.
So you're looking at it more in terms of influence than in terms of confluence.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's certainly, I think, how they want you to use it. If you guys played with the scan feature at all,
Mm-hmm.
it works just like a radio scanner, and it'll just randomly select different things on the screen and play you like 20 seconds of it.
See, it's also interesting, like that way, sort of how Pandora works now. I forget, but I feel like Pandora used to work a lot better. I feel like for me as a music listener before, like maybe like years ago, I don't even remember how long ago it was, but I feel like when Pandora changed its new algorithm, it was like if you listen to like Paramore, just as an example, it would probably give you like very similar, like samely, like alternative bands, sort of like in the genre, but it wouldn't give you like their influences. Like it would probably never play the Get Up Kids. Let me
Yeah,
make sure
get up,
that's right.
kids. That's right.
Right, which is like a notorious influence on their work. And like sort of like their early '90s like emo kind of pop punk kind of stuff. So it's like you would never get that from their music, but it clearly was an influence, and I feel like that's sort of what like I want and am missing from a listening like a radio experience. I want the context of how they sort of grew up and what influenced their sound more than just artists that also were popular at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like every '90s play, like every '90s radio station is the exact same, like songs. It's tub thumping and
It's like classic rock radio. It's the same
right.
songs. It's the same 20, 50, 100 songs that get replayed all the time. You don't actually get like deep cuts of classic rock.
Right.
You get like the greatest hits of classic rock.
You're like,
Yeah,
what
because
influenced Zeppelin? You know, in the day, you know, there wasn't Zeppelin and the Who weren't like even like there was opposite sides. You know, those two different people.
Yeah.
Two different types of groups that listen to that music, but now it's just like all slapped together.
Right. I like classic rock, which is a genre. It's this huge genre that encompasses so much stuff, but you put it in there because you're like, but it is. Even though
you gotta call it something.
classic rock now.
Yeah, and that's a whole other topic. Is like when do things become classic rock and everything, which is a real thing in the radio industry. Like a song has to be so old before it's played on certain types of radio stations and everything.
You too.
Yeah. I want to get to this tweet from Catherine who says, genres are categories to help define. In that way, even the smallest scene, if it is distinct enough, is a genre or subgenre.
To give context, Catherine notoriously hates genres, so that's nice to see in her.
Yeah, kudos, Catherine. Sean's holding up a finger heart, audio listeners. Okay, so moving past the "are genres a thing" argument, does the like word cloud layout for this? How does that work for you guys? Because you can view it as a cloud or as a big list. So how did you guys use it, and what did you think of that layout?
I
only
liked it.
use the cloud, but I feel like I might like the list. I don't know. No, I might like the. I don't know. I'd have to try it out. But I kind of liked the cloud just to. It felt more freeing. Maybe it was maybe a little more visual. I mean, it kind of like parallels to Music Map, which is another kind of like find more music service, which this just kind of seems like a better version of Music Map. Oops, you know. But I think probably also the same people probably made or somehow involved in both of those, because you said that that whatever controls this website like kind of is like what other radio sites use. Is that right?
Yeah, it's created by the people at the Echo Lab who
Right.
build recommendation engines for Spotify and Pandora.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think the reason I like the cloud a little better than the list is because a cloud seems to show the relationship between genres. Like when I first saw the cloud, I was looking at it and I saw it in terms of an XY axis.
Which is how they
look
want
at-
you to see it.
Right. You could look at music in an algebraic way, which I think is like really familiar with a lot of people. Actually, one of the first things I did was look at the dichotomies. I looked at like deep house as being like the top of the Y, and what was it, like classical piano was like at the bottom of the Y-axis. So I found myself like comparing the dichotomies right away of like, so this is the most unorganic on top of the Y, and like the least, like the most of something was at the bottom of the Y, which happened to be classical. And I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. Or what was the furthest on the left and what was the furthest on the right? It was just really interesting. That's why I like the cloud a little bit better.
Yeah, when I first started playing with it, the cloud kind of freaked me out because it just was so unorganized, and like the text is different sizes, which I still haven't figured out what exactly that means. But yeah, very much like you, I started looking at the spatial relations between things. So I was like, okay, so here's where, breakbeat is, and how close is that to turntablism or to instrumental hip hop, and how close is that to house, and like that's what I was looking at, was the separations between them. It was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I played with the list a little bit. It just wasn't that interesting. There was a feature, I don't know if I put it in the show notes or not, but at the bottom of every page, other than the main map, it shows you similar things and polar opposite things to whatever page you're on. Did you guys see that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's like a white square for similar and then a black square for different.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can just go into super weird places by clicking on like the opposite genre of whatever you've been listening to.
Mm.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, as a tool for discovery, I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, because that leads me to my next and final question on this topic. How have you guys used this to discover new music, and what's the coolest thing you found with it?
I have not really played too much with it, to be honest. I looked at it just enough to kind of get a feel for what was going on. But what I am going to do is to find, like, a band other than, like, the White Stripes that's just, like, a sort of, like, garage rocky band, like I just...
That's what you want?
Yeah, because, like, obviously they have specific influences, where did those come from? It just...
Watch the White Stripes documentary and you'll know.
Well, there we go.
Jack talks about it at length.
Well, maybe not just him, but, just sort of like garage rock, sort of like... It's called stoner rock, but it's not really, like, always, like, stoner rock. It has, like, another name, and it can be about...
It's like 60s garage.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
And I would like sort of like dig deeper into certain genres that I feel like aren't at like a surface level. So
Okay. Sean?
Just a way for me to alienate myself from my peers even more.
Oh, you like Katy Perry? That's nice. I don't
That's
really listen to 60s.
I was like,
stoner
I like
garage.
Matt and Kim, and they're like, what? I'm like, who's that? I'm like, oh god.
Who's
They're my
Matt? Does
friends.
he go to school with you?
Yeah, that's my brother and sister. I think I'll definitely use it as a way to like find playlists, different places, and discover new genres, larger scapes. I mean, that's it. That's how I see myself using it. Really, I mean, one thing that I do wish that they would do is I don't like that it's only like 30 seconds of playlist. I kind of wish they took it to like they took the genres to like Pandora level, where you could like click on the genre and play it as like a radio station for a while, just to see.
The problem, of course, is that it's built on Spotify,
Right.
and so they can't do that.
So I don't know. I mean, that's just when I was listening, I was like, oh, this would be cool to listen to more stuff if I could like continually play this stuff. But other than that, I think it'll be a good playlist finder. It'll be a good like, oh, I'll check out this genre a little bit more. So.
Have you found anything with it yet?
What?
Have you found anything with it yet?
I found out I was into this genre called DJ or Degent, DJENT. It's kind of like very hymn-esque, which I like a lot. So
I would not have pegged you as listening to that.
He's had an album, like their album from like 5 years ago, forever. I feel like that wasn't a band we listened to collectively.
I guess not. Yeah, kind of like you guys. I think I am going to use it to explore genres I don't know very much about, which is what I've been doing with it. I really want to listen to more deep hip-hop, not like radio rap. And so I found some cool stuff, some nice early like Motown beat type of stuff that I put in the Dudes Brunch playlist. Link in the description box for that. Yeah, I really want to listen to more soul too.
There you go.
I know Tyler digs his soul records. I need to spend more time in Motown, I think.
I want to listen to Hawthorne Heights right now.
There you go.
We've gone like a month talking about Hawthorne Heights in every single episode of this podcast.
What's wrong with it? I actually went back and I was like, wait a second. Why did I hate this band?
They're
Because they
not
were
that
too good. That's why. Because they were before their time.
Sure.
And
I
they're
would
D-Town.
I would say they're of their time, but you can.
They're very much of their time.
I think we should go to
Add
Tyler's
to-
topic now. We ran a long time.
I'm pretty confident that every band that I said I hated, like five early 2000s ago, I might not actually hate if I listen to it again now. It's all about the context.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
what a good transition to contexts. Aha, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk song lyrics, Tyler. What you
Oh,
got?
me? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's your
You
topic.
didn't see that one coming?
Thank you. Anyway, okay, so my topic for this week is about apparently reading levels and pop songs. So I don't really care who wrote this article, but somebody wrote an article. The links will be in the description. But and so apparently over the past 10 years, the reading level of songs have gone down steadily, with a high point of 3.5 in 2005 to
Third grade, that is.
huh?
Third grade.
Yeah,
That is
third grade.
5.
They're halfway through their year of third grade, down to 2.7. So they're almost ready to be a third grader. They got 3 more months left, I guess, is the metaphor we're going with. Anyway, so it pretty much breaks down by categories of vague genres of country, like rap, pop, and rock, and gives Eminem has an average reading level of almost a 4th grade reading level. Meanwhile, a 3 Days Grace song has less than a 1st grade reading level. So, which I
Those
just find-
scars. Those
beautiful.
scars remind
That-
us.
Do you tear your heart open just to feel?
I do, every day. I wake up in the morning and just tear my heart open. And then I pour black coffee on it.
This would be the part where I'd insert another 3 Days Grace lyrics in here, but I honestly can't. I can't remember. I'm sorry.
I'm actually wondering now if those were 3 Days Grace lyrics or Papa Roach lyrics, and I
That's
can't.
no, I
Probably
went
Papa
down to
Roach.
Papa Roach.
And I don't think it matters.
Yeah, does it matter? It doesn't. It really doesn't. But surprisingly, also another keynote before I go into the discussion questions, Danny California has a reading level of 8.8, that 8th grade reading level, though. There you go, Red Hot Chili Peppers. You haven't made an album in 10 years, but whatever.
They just put out an album 18 months ago.
Yeah,
Did they?
Yeah, it's not very good.
Oh, well, okay. I'm not exactly a big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, so whatever.
Sucker.
That's okay.
I like them.
I like them.
I don't not like them.
It's not the same band now that John Frusciane's gone.
Can I not go to the bathroom?
Anyway, all right. There's a horde of elephants.
All sorts of weird.
Okay, so does a song's lyrical complexity influence the enjoyment? Influence your enjoyment of a song? Does a good song need to be linguistically complex? Wow, I butchered those questions in my article, in my paper that I wrote.
What's your reading level, Tyler?
It's like 2. It's 2-year-old, not 2nd grade.
That makes me like kindergarten, because every time I post anything on Facebook for Dudes Brunch, it's always like corrected or edited by somebody. I'm like, I proofread that.
There you go. Okay, so does a complex song make it a good song? Does a simple song make it a bad song? What do we think?
No.
Taylor, go first, because I'm gonna like hack this article apart. So.
Yeah, I am too.
Go
I'm
ahead.
right there with you. So
Go ahead.
we've talked about dumb music, air quotes, before
right.
when we talked about the new Matt and Kim record. This article just proves everything I thought about that. Like, evaluating lyrics by grade level, I mean, come on. And saying, like, oh no, the grade level of our songs is going down from 2005 to 2015. In the 60s, there was literally a song called Yummy, 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 I've Got Love in My Tummy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like #1. I'll have to look up the chart position, but it did really, really well. So don't anybody come at us and say, like, pop music is making all our children dumb.
Those were the days.
Yeah. I'll pause my rant there and let Sean start ranting now.
I heard about this article on NPR and I hated it. First of all, Eminem, idiot. Just we won't go there on this
Shots
because like
To be fair, just right before you start that, the way that they counted the reading like level was based on like syllables and like I guess the level like, and because like rap songs like feature like yeah or okay.
Wait, you mean that yeah wouldn't make it on that list?
Like, well, no, like having that like in like
fall on
succession. If like half your song has like 20 or 30 of those in there, that's gonna like lower it down. Meanwhile, like country songs that have like a state and like trucks or anything to do with country things, naturally gives it like a higher reading level. But anyway, continue.
Okay.
Can we pause?
Eminem's an idiot.
Oh no,
Huh?
you can go ahead and finish your rant on Eminem and then
okay.
I'll interject.
No. So I mean, the fact that Eminem's on there is, well, I think it's a fluke of the methodology. I'll just put it that way. The methodology for this article is absolutely dumb. It's like, the first thing I did after I read the article was scroll down and look at the comments, and the first comment just blew my mind that someone was like, you could make this an academic article. And part of me was like, you are totally wrong. You are completely stupid and wrong. Because if this was an academic article, I would boycott your journal and like somehow blacklist you in the academic establishment. That would be like my life goal, because this is so stupid. There is like no, like, first of all, you have to make it 3 weeks to even, like, 3 weeks on #1 to even be considered a hit, which I think is so stupid to evaluate all the genres on that alone. Because I think if you listen to, like, existential hip-hop or something like that, your reading level is definitely going up. And to consider, too, I don't know how they did this. They never, like, said how they came up with the reading level. I mean, do they so, like, because that's a whole methodology within itself. I just don't get it. I don't understand, like, Nickelback beat everybody in rock. Nickelback.
Yeah, that one, like, I realize they're doing it based on chart rock. I'm going to take over from you for a second. But first of all, we know that only the simplest stuff succeeds in the charts. Like, that's the way the popular music works, right? There are so many rock bands with so much higher vocabulary than Nickelback. I mean, La Dispute, Me Without You,
Not chart toppers.
Yeah, not chart toppers at all, but really heavy stuff. I mean, even Circa Survive has a higher reading level than Nickelback, and Anthony Green is, by all accounts, basically a 12-year-old in a grown man's body. So,
for reference, I have a story for this. In like, what grade? Like 11th grade, whatever. I was in high school. We had to bring in a song into our English class, and we as a group decided to analyze it.
Did you pick Circa?
I picked a Circa Survive song, and my English teacher at the time said that like some mysteries weren't worth solving. And I'm like, what? What?
Some mysteries were.
He's like, this is just we
See,
don't know.
we did that assignment, and somebody brought in an Of Montreal song, which did not need to be talked about in high school. Other bands that'll raise your reading level and make you have to think about terrible, weird things.
You wrote a bad article, Petey. You wrote a bad article. That's all I need to say about that. Like,
following up from earlier, so I Wikipedia'd Yummy 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 by the Ohio Express, a Cincinnati band we should not be proud of.
Hey, what up?
So Yummy 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 released in May 1968, number 4 in the U.S., number 1 in Canada, number 5 in the U.K. So, pretty high chart-topping record.
that song sounds really
Garbage.
like sexual now that I think about it.
That's because it is. But interestingly, in the notes section,
I'm so
it says
naive.
that the B-side of the record is the instrumental backing track for another song recorded backwards, specifically so that it would get less radio play than the A-side, so the A-side would perform better in the charts.
That's
Which
dumb.
answers the second question that Tyler wrote. Do you feel that...
Right. Are we
Yes,
done?
Totally.
Go for it.
Did
let's go to the
did
second.
you just hide that noose a little bit tighter? We good? All right. So so do you feel this is an intentional decision in the industry to appeal to the most people, or a natural progression and separation of genres? So the second part, I was just like, well, do certain trends in like rap music or like country music certainly like sway towards something or another? Do certain like subgenres of genres fall out of popularity? Does it? So obviously it doesn't matter, right?
Popular music is always going to be simple. Like, that's just kind of the nature of it. You get these weird flukes where smart songs or like really dense things become popular very, very briefly. But for the most part, popular music is feel-good, relatively simple music because it does need to appeal to more people. Gary Vee talked this week on the Ask Gary Vee show, and there's a Cracked podcast that I absolutely love about youthification and this idea that we're like lowering the age target of our popular culture. And I think that's a legitimate fear, and that's probably what they're going for in this article. But pop music isn't a good metric for that, because pop music is always really simple. Like, you can go all the way back to the 40s, and pop music is so much simpler than the more interesting artistic music that was going on out there. So I don't think this is an industry trend. I think it's just the way of, like, media economics, I guess.
So, despite this question being shot down almost immediately, so how do we feel about the youthification of our media then? If just briefly we can touch on that.
I don't like that
I mean-
term. I don't like the youthification of it. I think that's why I hate this article so much, is because it feels like, well, back in the good old days, music was written for people to listen to, and now it's just all yelling and screaming and people just saying things that are not smart. It's like, oh God, stop. Just so everybody knows, if you're listening, I updated my little banner on the bottom to show my current reading level, and it's 3.1.
You know, I don't mind youthification. I think it's an interesting argument. But it's not something that we need to be, like, I don't know, I guess this concerned about, particularly in music. I think Sean was talking about superhero movies after this, and I think that's a really good example of youthification, is the way our movie box office works and how almost every movie in the theaters right now is PG-13, because that's, like, the ideal age for marketing. But that's a wholly different argument. If you're interested in that, the Cracked podcast, it'll be linked below. The episode is called Why the PG-13 Rating is Ruining America. It's pretty interesting. It was a good listen. What do you think, Tyler? Youthification? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's something you care about?
Well, as someone that is part of the gaming spectrum, I would say that um,
What would you say, Tyler?
I don't know.
Spit it out,
It's
man.
Frickin', just say something, man.
I mean, are we
Stop
talking about?
denying your age, man? Frickin'. Why would you even lie about that?
So obviously, mature things like actiony or violent things are somehow like sort of tied to like to get kids to watch it or play it or do whatever. Kind of like how Power Rangers was like way too violent for children to be watching, but it sold a lot of toys, so they did it anyway. Is it sort of like that, or is youthification more about sort of like the Lego Movie, like distinctly making content or making products that are like aimed at a lower demographic, like that aren't necessarily like, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
I feel like the Lego Movie was almost to kind of play on the nostalgia of Legos.
Yeah, the Lego Movie is kind of a weird example for that because it's
But
definitely.
I like where you're going with that,
parents type of
Tyler.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they talk about in the Cracked piece that I really liked was even our violent movies now are made to be more kid-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have these movies like The Hobbit where you have these giant armies of thousands of CGI-generated characters that you don't care about slaying each other with no gore, no blood, and you don't even really see that many dead bodies because it's just exciting to watch things kill each other, but then if you don't show the aftermath, you can still get a PG-13 rating.
Mm.
And if your movie's rated R, you can't sell it to children.
Right.
But,
Right.
and the other example they use is they were talking about Avengers being the #1 movie of 2014, but then the #1 movie of no, in terms of box office.
Oh, right.
Hold
But
on.
then the #1 movie of 1974, I think, was Kramer versus Kramer, which, if you haven't seen it, is like a very depressing tale of parents getting a divorce and what happens to their young son in the process.
It has nothing to do with the character from Seinfeld finding a cloning device and hilarity ensues.
No, but that would be hilarious.
Is that the part where he goes up on stage and makes really racist jokes?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's his clone, man.
Oh,
You
okay.
wouldn't understand. Zach says, does the fact that so many movies are based on young adult novels lately count as youthification? It does to me. I mean, other than
Post in the next comment. Post in the next section when we do my segment, because we're gonna.
Yeah, you'll like the next segment, but notice how many core fiction things are being made into movies right now.
I just think that the nerd fighter community has just reached a critical mass, and so that's why John Green's getting 3 movies made. So
it's not just the John Green movies, though. It's
right.
Divergent and all that junk, which we've talked about on the podcast before.
But John Green leading the spearhead of sad movies about sad people.
All right, Tyler, did you have anything else here, or are we ready to move on? Because we're talking a lot about movies.
Not really. Just any surprise hits of the reading level on any artist in particular.
I like that Red Hot Chili Peppers got 8.8. I don't know why they. I don't know. I hate this article so much that it's like there could have been really good surprises on this article. Like it could have been the coolest thing ever.
Right.
But they totally, or the person, may they remain nameless for their own sake. They really didn't do a good job on this. It was a good puff piece. It probably got a lot of clicks, but there was no content there.
We certainly did. We got at least 3 clicks out of it.
Yay!
Yeah. Feeding the beast.
The best part is that there are two articles that have almost the exact same information on it that I linked, and I'm like, why even rewrite what they already wrote? Thank you for showing me the light, Sean. You've showed me the way that puff pieces are a dime a dozen. I just, It was like Saturday. It was like Friday, and I was like, I need to find an article.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I had my topic turned in at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Our usual deadline is end of day Wednesday.
Wait,
Sean
are
and
you
Tyler
telling me?
both.
You wake
Sean
up
and
at a
Tyler
new Bugatti,
both.
Taylor? Is that what you're telling me? Is that?
We're late this week. Yeah.
Did you woke up in a new Bugatti?
I woke up in a new Bugatti.
Whoop whoop. Did you wake up in a new Bugatti?
You bet. All right, Sean. Let's talk about superhero movies.
How does he afford all those cars?
Okay, everybody. So this week, my topic is about superheroes, movies. I guess the backstory of me looking up this, I don't really like superhero movies that much. I'm not really big fans of them. I think that they're kind of cliche now. So that was kind of what I was going after, and I typed in superhero movies on Google News to see what comes up. And there was a guy from Vox, a reporter, I don't know his name, that doesn't really matter. He wrote this really interesting article that I agree and disagree with about how superhero movies are endlessly attempting to rewrite 9/11, which is a big claim, huge claim. He makes a pretty.
Right, 'cause the government's lying about 9/11.
There's a lot of stuff going around about this. So
yeah, one of my favorite Twitters right now is at 2K12 seniors or 2K20 seniors, and it's like a fake 6th grade class president, and it'll tweet things like, "Me and Bay went to Dairy Queen today," and all that stuff, and then occasionally be like, "Man, my mom's so mean. She grounded me. Hashtag Bush did 9/11." And it's so great.
Okay, so
if you haven't, follow 2K12 or whatever seniors. I'll link it in the doobly-doo.
That guy is probably like 30 years old and stole that from those kids that are really going to graduate in 2020 or whatever, 2016 or whatever. That's rude. Rude.
So basically what the article was was him trying to say, he kind of made this like temporal map of how superhero movies from 2001 until the current have kind of like acted as the healer or like the meta narrative for how Americans have felt about 9/11. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that because once you get in the comments, we'll try to talk about that more. And two, I posted a section of The Pervert's Guide to Ideology on Netflix, which is about philosophy again. It's by Slobodan Zizek. He talks about ideology, and he does it in terms of films, which I kind of thought was really relevant to this. So please watch the whole movie. It's really long and really deep. I won't go in and talk about it much right now. But okay, so let's just get right into the topic. Did you find any truth in the superhero rewrite argument that was presented in this article? That it kind of rewrites 9/11 a bunch?
Yeah, I'll jump into that, but real quick, Zach says jet fuel can't melt steel beams, and then sent us the video for Bugatti by Tyga. In case you forgot Bugatti by Tyga from episode 2 of Dude's Brunch, digging deep.
The Deuces!
Girl walks up
Not the
to me and
song I
says,
was talking about,
"What you
but
drive?"
also a song about a Bugatti.
I say Bugatti. I presented a paper at a pop culture conference this fall, and a guy that I met. Do what?
Was it about reading levels of popular music?
No, it was not. It was about economics and punk rock.
Good for you.
Hey, Sean, you're the best.
But anyway,
What did you say?
let me fucking talk. Freaking, you guys just freaking haters, not letting me talk. Okay, but a guy at the conference presented a paper on this topic, but his was only covering a couple of movies. He talked about Man of Steel and the first Avengers. And I think when you limit it to just a few movies or like a particular director, this argument makes sense. But this guy who wrote this article for Vox feels like he's overgeneralizing by making it every superhero movie ever. At one point he talks about like the Avengers has like this alien invasion in New York as if it's trying to write an alternate 9/11. I'm like, no. The Avengers takes place in New York. Like, that's the way the comic books are written. It can't take place in any other city, otherwise the comic book nerds are going to get mad. Like, there's a certain
Don't make them mad. They know where you live.
There's a continuity element to it that I think he's just completely ignoring. So, I don't know, that really bothered me. He also talks about a couple of specific scenes with buildings coming down, the one in Africa and the Age of Ultron in particular, and the Incomparable podcast that I really love and have recommended here talked about that scene in their review of Age of Ultron. And they said, you know, we're not sure if Joss Whedon is trying to make a 9/11 reference, or it could just be that we all now, as the human race, know what it looks like when a building collapses because of these images of 9/11. And so we make buildings collapse in movies in a realistic way, but the last time we saw that was 9/11, so by correlation we just assume. And I kind of like that argument. I kind of think maybe it is a 9/11 reference. I don't know. I think you would have to go to Joss Whedon's house and like ask him, and he probably still wouldn't tell you.
He'd first tell you to leave because that's creepy that you found his house, but yeah.
I'm sure I'm sure overly emphatic Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans show up on his doorstep all the time.
No, Firefly.
Firefly, true.
All Firefly.
So yeah, I think this is just really overgeneralized, and I couldn't get behind a lot of the claims he was making. Somebody else talk.
You mean this is the second article on this podcast that was overgeneralizing? What the fuck?
Bingo board. Tyler says the F word.
Yeah. Actually, three of these, they're almost all overgeneralizing, because we could also make the statement for the first topic we talked about. But you know,
journalism and clickbait aren't the same thing. Wow. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Wow.
Dank meme, bro. All right, so.
Illuminati.
Let Tyler talk.
You know, you kept talking, and Sean kept talking, and I keep flipping back and forth between how I feel about this. Because I don't know, you know. I think it's possible. Because, you know, the people always say, oh, well, we always have a certain type of movie to kind of like represent our struggles of the time. You know, zombies for a long time. It's actually kind of still zombies for some reason. During, like, I guess our political or our economic strife, it was about zombies. So, you know, it makes sense the superhero movies would be like sort of like pseudo-patriotism, because we're not like, yay, America, but we are like, fuck you, bad people. Nobody dies. So, you know, to me it makes sense. I get it.
I was kind of half and half on the article. I thought it was a very gross oversimplification, because I think that there's like more general theories that kind of sum up film better. This is going to be another sorry graduate student moment. There's a French philosopher called Rancière, and he talks about how all of Western film is based on the little L liberalization idea, about how like everybody can justify their own self-determination, and how pretty much every movie made in Western society is like that. That if you work hard and you persist all the way, that you'll succeed in your own endeavors and whatever. And I kind of believe that to be true. But I did kind of I did think that the article was good, in that I think it does kind of soothe the psychological, the psyche of pop culture a little bit, that like superhero movies have picked up a lot because, you know, I can't rule out this theory that everybody's kind of looking for somebody to come in and save us a little bit. I like this example in the article about how Superman, the Man of Steel, came back. He was gone in 2000, then came back in 2006, and to a world that was a lot different, and that maybe we could have been saved if he would have been here and stuff like that. And so I think that movies like this definitely get a little to play from that. You know, are they exploiting a tragedy? I don't know if I'd go that far because that makes it sound really, really, really evil. But I don't know. I can't really rule out his argument all the way. I kind of liked it a little bit, that the superhero narrative kind of soothes the pop psyche. So.
Well, it's certainly more fitting than Escape from L.A., in which a religious tyrant completely controls the government, controls the United States, and has a military prison in California, and the main character says, "Fuck your president, fuck your war," or whatever he says. Or, "Fuck your country." Snake Plissken doesn't give a fuck, you know. So it makes sense that, you know, we're trying to be maybe a little overcorrecting on how we view, I guess, the political climate and our relations with the world, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we kind of answered the first and second question in that one topic. So, but I guess we kind of hinted at this a little bit. My third question: do you think that popular movies kind of act as? Do you think that they serve a purpose in kind of, like, helping us heal from events? Is that possible for movies, or do you think it's kind of just coincidental that genres that pop up, or like movies that pop up, happen to find? We find them.
Are you trying to say that the most popular movies are also the simplest, Sean? Are you trying to say that?
No. I wouldn't say that. I would say like.
No,
like,
I know what he's saying.
Like you can find them. You can connect with them. You know, like in the time that we were looking for a hero, you know, there was a hero movie that was out there that, like, it's easy to kind of predict these trends, maybe. Or maybe, because I don't know, I'm not.
I don't think it's easy to predict them. I think it's easier to see them in hindsight. A good example is you look at movies from the 70s, and there's a lot of movies. I mean, there's the escapist things like Star Wars and stuff like that, but there's a lot of movies about corruption in the 70s because you're post-Watergate.
Right.
And especially when you get into the late 70s and you have the city of New York filing for bankruptcy, that's how you get movies like Taxi Driver and Escape from New York. And you couldn't have made those movies in the 60s when, you know, it looked like Mad Men.
Right.
So, yeah, I think movies can definitely be a way of soothing or like a form of catharsis for the popular culture. I wouldn't say that's the only reason that they're made, though. Like, I don't know. I don't think the Lego movie is making a grand statement about the state of our country or anything.
You don't think that President Business isn't a metaphor for something larger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It is interesting that it's sort of like why in like the 80s, you know, we shot up robots or whatever instead of other people, because it was like you don't want to depict like people dying or like, you know, like to get on TV, so you want to have like low like violence, and sort of like a similar fashion. We don't want to have like an us versus them kind of mentality about like having aliens. You know, you can have as many aliens as you want. Aliens from all across the galaxy, because they aren't real, you know. I'm not making a statement on whether aliens are real or not, but, you know, whatever. Nondescript aliens out there, you know, we can fight them all we want, but as soon as we make it about, like, another country and other people, then there's, like, real issues we have to actually address and worry about. Video games clearly
That's a good point.
haven't cared about that at all, and they're just like, Russia's got nukes. Russia, or like Korea, you know, like they just do not care about who they're upsetting, and So it's interesting that I guess movies are also I guess appealing to way more people than video games are. So
Yeah, because movies have to sell internationally.
Mhm.
You can even do things with depicting foreign countries on TV that you can't do in movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
things
Catherine
like
says-
The West Wing and The Newsroom and whatnot.
all superhero tales are rewriting some history by their nature of their real world context. We wish someone could save us, which is what the article was talking about.
Yep.
Go, Catherine.
We want
And
someone to.
And Zach says, healing, nah. Reflection of the zeitgeist, yeah. And then he points at something about Kanye West. Oh, Kanye's Papa Wheelie on the Zeitgeist lyric off of Jesus. Because Kanye. Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm good too. Anybody else got anything exciting, interesting that we need to talk about this week before we wrap it up with some shameless plugs?
Let's go right into plugs.
Let's do it. Tyler, what plugs you got this week?
Sorry, Zach beachballed my computer, so with this stupid article.
Zach, throwing us all off.
Oh boy, I really need to read those Kanye lyrics right now.
Right now.
Thanks, bucko. No.
So, do you have any plugs this week?
Shameless plug,
Tyler.
same as always. TylerDReed.com. My personal website. You can please hire me as per usual. If you have an album you'd like designed or a gig poster, some flyers, business cards, hit me up, TylerDReed.com. Also, email me, TylerDReed@gmail.com. Hit me up on Twitter. Let's chat. Let's talk about what the fuck ever. TDR Design.
Have a little giggle party.
Have a little giggle party. Let's giggle. That's
All right,
really all.
giggles.
That's it. Personal website, Twitter, email, design forever. There you go. I need to stop stealing Anthony Fantana's line. I'm sorry. It's just so good.
Forever. Jonathan, shameless plugs.
Nothing. Hit me up on the Twitters and the internets at Evans_M and then Urge with a U, and that's it.
You haven't been live streaming your drives recently.
No, because I've still been listening to that book. It's really long. It's like 1,200 pages. So I have like another. I just got a disc 13. I have to get a disc 21 before I can start live streaming again. Thanks, copyright. It's super interesting though.
Look forward to working on that bike shop with Sean. We're gonna start a business together.
Send cycles. Put us between your legs.
That's right.
Yeah, so if this podcast doesn't take off and you don't tell your friends about this show, we're just going to cancel it and open a bike shop. You want us to keep doing this podcast. Please tell your friends about this show. So shameless plugs from me. I haven't done anything personally this week, so I'm going to say shameless plug this show. Seriously, I was hanging out with somebody last night who listens to the show on the audio podcast, and he was like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this week's show, and I was like, great, go tell other people about it. We have like 15 weekly listeners right now at 14 episodes, which is pretty good. We're averaging like one new listener per episode, but come on, people. Tell your friends about this show. It's more fun.
Tell a friend about our show. You get to wake up in a new Bugatti. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And then some girl will walk up to you and be like, what you driving? And you'll be like, Bugatti. Right on. Well, thanks for watching, everybody, or listening if you're on the audio podcast. Hit us up on the interwebs, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Coaches.